This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Neeson with the Raw Life Health Show, and we have a very important guest on the show today. We have Nancy. Nancy, say hello to the Raw Life audience.
Hi, everybody.
Nancy, I am a very controversial person because I tell people what they need to hear, not just what they like to hear. And I love certain things, the taste of certain things, but if I know they're not healthy, I'm known as the health watchman to let people know. You have seen some of my videos about some of these things, and tell us your experience and why I'm interviewing you today.
Okay, well, I looked at all the health benefits of raw cacao, organic raw cacao, and for the past year, I've been consuming quite a lot of it um, because I thought it was very health beneficial to my body. So in the mornings, every morning, I'd have lemon water, and then I'd have some fruit, and then I'd make myself a big raw organic raw cacao smoothie, which included 4 bananas, about 8 to 10 dates, about half a cup to 3/4 cup of raw cacao, coconut water, and ice cubes. And it made the nicest banana chocolate smoothie you'd ever know. And I drank that for breakfast with my husband. We shared about 64 ounces every morning. And one morning, I didn't have a lot of water, and I just had my smoothie, my raw cacao smoothie, and I wasn't feeling great after it. I had a little bit of a headache. I wasn't feeling totally myself, and I had had symptoms like that before, but nothing. They always pass. So I decided to go with my niece to a city nearby, and I drove, and we got there, and I started feeling more flu-like symptoms as the day progressed, and I was feeling nauseous, headachy, tired, just not myself. So we did our things, and then I said to her, "I'm not feeling good. I'm just going to go lay in the vehicle for a little while." So she went about her stuff, and then came out, woke me up on the passenger side. And I said, "I can't drive. I still don't feel great. So if you don't mind driving." So she drove, and we got down, busy city, down the street. And I said, I felt like I had to vomit. So I grabbed a bag from the back seat and felt like I had to vomit. I said, "Oh no, Courtney, just take me to the hospital. Something's really weird's going on." And she said, my eyes rolled back in my head, and I passed out into a seizure-like episode, she said, and all stiffened up. She said nothing was happening, like nothing was coming out of my mouth, and I wasn't flailing around. I just went into this position and stayed there, and she said she thought I had died. So she pulled over, called 911, and I came to in about 5 minutes. The ambulance wasn't there yet, but she was still on 911, and it was very scary, but when I came out, I had severe back pain. So I didn't know what was going on, if I had like a heart attack, or I didn't have a clue because the severe back pain was so bad. So they rushed me to the hospital, did a bunch of tests, and they never came up with anything except that I had extremely low blood pressure, which what they figured caused the seizure. So they sent me home with this severe back pain, never did really figure out anything except that I had extremely low blood pressure. So they said, just see your family doctor as soon as possible, go home, rest, get some pain medication, and go home. So I could hardly walk because of the back pain, but I did make it home, and I sat on the chair. And the next day I thought, I'm just going to do a little research on low blood pressure and what causes it. So I started looking at the first article I looked up, or the first research page I came to. I just looked up low blood pressure, and it said that theobromine can cause low blood pressure. And I'm like, so I asked Terry, my husband, I said, grab the container, which I have right here. And I said, let me see the ingredients in that. And I looked, and it was theobromine cacao, and that was it. And I'm like, okay, so that's probably why I had the low blood pressure. I've been consuming a lot of that. So I figured out that that's what it was, which caused me this seizure. And I looked up other symptoms of theobromine poisoning, and it was epileptic seizures, heart attacks, um, death, shock syndrome. And I'm like, okay, so I've been consuming, 3/4 of a cup of that every day in my smoothie for the past probably close to a year. So that's what caused my poisoning, which I thought it was benefiting my body, but then I looked at the other end of it, and there's a lot of beneficial, but in moderation.
Well, basically, it's not the beans of the cacao are not beneficial in any way. It's the fruit that has the benefits. The beans are the toxic part of it, and people don't realize that. And it's just a scary thing because there are health promoters promoting this as a completely healthy and safe item. Now,
That's what I thought.
yeah, now, uh, when you first started taking it, did you start in smaller amounts, and then as time went on, you saw how good it tasted, and you added more?
Yes, that's exactly what I did.
Because somebody might ask and say, well, why didn't you experience these symptoms right away? And one of my videos, or all of my videos, I always talk about the body has an amazing power to adapt to its environment and also its toxicity. So, for example, if you give somebody a bottle of arsenic, they'll probably die. But if you take an eyedropper and you put one drop of the arsenic the spoon, and they take that, and then eventually, after a couple of months, maybe they can get two drops and three. Well, eventually, they could work their way up to where they could drink a good amount, and they won't have the same effect as if they've just drinking it. And
Mhm.
it sounds like something like that is what happened to you. Your body got so immune to it that it just delayed the symptoms. But
Mhm.
you very well see what happens.
And I did have symptoms, but not that extreme, right? Sometimes when I'd hike or walk, I'd feel, nauseous, and then I'd have to go back and sit in the vehicle, but I never ever got where I had extreme symptoms like I did that day, right? So I did get them, but I didn't relate it to that ever.
Sure, sure. And I'm very outspoken about this because a good amount of people over the years have come up to me with stories similar to yours. And I just want to let people know that if you do this, it's maybe an occasional treat.
Hmm.
But occasional treats are usually not healthy things. They're occasional treats. But
Yeah.
my issue is when people promote things as being healthy and they're not. That's what I want to make people aware of. So I'm not against if somebody decides to take some raw cacao, once maybe for an occasional treat. It's different than thinking it's healthy and taking it like the way you were. And this is a big problem we have.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I'm very healthy. I drink my juice and also quite a clean diet. And I know that when you're living quite a clean nutritional diet, a lot of times these things can even be more harmful.
Exactly, exactly, and well, and so you sent me an email with your information about what had happened, but you have a passion to let other people know this, and that's why you wanted to be here to let other people know to be really careful with this, right?
Yes, very careful with it. And all the health benefits they say about it, you got to look at the other side of it too, because and I wasn't. I just thought it was or I would have never put it in my body if I didn't think it was beneficial. And I also think maybe I was getting addicted to it. Like I only had it every morning and that was it. And it felt good. Like, it made me feel good. So I thought, well,
Of course,
until,
you know why? Because theobromine is a form of caffeine, and
yeah.
caffeine is a very addicted substance, and it also adds a full sense of stimulation to the body.
Hmm.
So that feeling of good is really a stimulation, but just because there's always uppers, there's always downers.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you felt great when you drank it, but I'm sure as it wore off, you didn't feel as good as you did in the morning when you were drinking it. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Yes. And especially those couple days, I wasn't eating a lot of extra stuff. So, I hadn't put a lot of other stuff in my body. Like that morning, all I had was my smoothie and a nectarine. So, and the other days I always would eat more, but I wasn't feeling great. So I didn't eat a lot either. So, I mean, that probably made it even more intense, I guess.
Sure. Well, I want to submit to you and everyone listening that before this cacao, I call it crack cow actually,
Yeah.
before the cacao craze came about, uh, I used to, when I first got into the raw food diet, used to consume carob powder.
Yeah.
And I guarantee anyone listening right now, if you take raw carob powder, raw carob pod, the way they're found in nature,
Mhm.
versus a raw cacao bean, the way it's found in nature, that bean will be bitter and you would not like it at all. And that cacao pod, I mean that carob pod would be absolutely delicious
Yeah.
in its own natural form, and that says a lot. Now, of course, people say the flavoring of a chocolate cacao shake is just amazing. It's not the cacao, folks. The cacao
No.
gives it a chocolate substance, but when you add the sugar and the
Yeah.
dates and the agave and everything else to it,
Yeah.
that's what tastes so amazing. Well,
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
so Nancy and everyone listening, if you just replace, you can make that same smoothie you made, but just use carob powder instead of cacao. And you might not like the taste of raw carob. Well, that's okay. Get cooked carob. Get toasted carob. It's okay. It's a
Hmm.
flavoring. It's not a health thing. It's about enjoying your meal in a safe way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's for sure. For sure. The cacao, it turned me off so much because it gave me such a scare that I don't even want anything to do with it anymore, because it,
Sure. And speaking of the scary thing, you know what people are going to claim? Because so many people are interested in just making money at the expense of people's health. Even unfortunately, in the raw food world here, what people are going to say is, well, that was just a variety you took, or something like that. No, there's theobromine in extreme amounts in all varieties of cacao, and especially the raw variety is really where it's going to affect the body. And any of the health benefits do not weigh out the negative parts of it. And I highly recommend people not consume cacao as a health product. And definitely, if you are going to consume it, do it in a limited way. So, Nancy, have you known or seen or heard of anyone else experiencing a reaction similar to yours, or any negative reactions to cacao since you've been doing this research?
I haven't ran across a lot. There was, I think, one article I read, there was people that said they've had like sleeplessness and insomnia and different stuff, but not to the point, I don't think, where they've had an actual seizure.
And Nancy, do you have a message to the people that are promoting this as a health product and they know that there are these negative things in there? Do you have a message to them?
Yes, I would really like to see them put some kind of warning signs or something on the packages and not just all the health benefits about them. Warning people that it can be harmful to your health and that it's not always beneficial, you know?
Sure. Well, I so appreciate you speaking up and talking about this, and I think it's something people really need to know and hear about. And I want to thank you for taking the time to let us know. And do you have any final words before we end the interview?
Just don't consume things in moderation. If you're going to consume anything, don't overdo it. That's one thing I'd like to say, because sometimes everything you read out there is not always right. So make sure you look at both sides, the health benefits and the not so healthy benefits of each product you want to consume.
And the scary thing is, Nancy, I don't know if you were even over consuming it, because you said you and your husband split this smoothie with how much, about how much cacao was in the smoothie?
Probably, I'd say I never measured it. I just would dump a bunch in with my big tablespoon heaping. So I would say probably 3/4 of a cup in a 64-ounce smoothie.
3/4 of a cup. Okay. Well, but you're dividing that by two.
Yeah, then we each had some. And like he never got a lot of the, but I already, since I'm very, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, my blood pressure is never high. So, I mean, and just, I think that morning. I hadn't consumed much else, maybe,
Well,
and
what
it
about your husband? Did he ever have any symptoms, low grade symptoms, since you've been doing this at all?
he never had many symptoms at all. No, that was the thing. Like but then he probably drinks a lot more water than me, I think. So maybe that helped. And just, I don't know. I don't know why he didn't have the
And
symptoms.
that's a scary thing because people think if they don't have symptoms, it's okay for them. But no, damage is still being done in your body, everybody. So you need to be careful and not the symptoms are the end result. It doesn't mean things aren't stirring up inside you. The symptoms mean you've been doing something so bad and finally your body's reacting. So we can't just wait for symptoms. We have to get the knowledge and do the research. And Nancy, I thank you so much because prayerfully this will help people realize that about
Yeah,
the truth about cacao.
exactly. And since I've quit consuming it, I've felt totally fine, and my blood pressure has been normal. And so it was definitely because of that. I know it. I know it was all because of the consuming high amounts of that.
And you seriously could have died. I mean, it's that
Seriously,
crazy.
I could have for sure. Like I know I was going into some kind of shock mode, right, from it. And yeah, I took it right out of my diet. I will never use it again. It just scared the heck out of me. I mean, yeah,
Wow.
it's, yeah.
All right. Well, Nancy, I'm glad you're safe now, and I'm glad you have the knowledge now. And everybody, get to my website, healthwatchman.com, and check out the information so you could be warned too when things are like this. All right, Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.